distracted, and you're not as focused as you normally would be or should be. Okay, so here's the deal. I was disappointed in the test outcomes. Now, I have to temper my disappointment with the idea that it is still 12 days away for the test. Your final exam is 2 weeks from Wednesday. And what I want to do now is I'm going to go through every question on the test. Some of them are easy. I'll go through them quickly. Some of them were much more difficult, and I will go through those. Some of the ones that I saw on here, I was very surprised that you got them wrong. I thought you would do better. I think perhaps you're not taking, guys, look at me. I think perhaps you're not taking your time with the answer sheets seriously enough. There were some questions from those answer sheets that I think are easy questions that I went through, and every day I give you those sheets so that you can compare them to your homework. And you can see, am I right? Am I wrong? Where do I stand on this? And I don't think you're taking it as seriously as you should, because I expected more of those questions to be done correctly on this. Remember, when I give you the answers, I did say to you, if you have any questions where the answer doesn't explain it enough to you, or if you got it wrong, I mean, you probably got a bunch of them right, bring them up to me and let's go over them one-on-one. I didn't see much of that. So I think you need to improve on that if you're going to step it up the next way. Listen, everything is about how you go about your business. Everything is about, do you walk in the room with a plan? Do you come out with an idea saying, look, I want to make sure I know how to do these things. I know what's going to be on your final exam. I absolutely will not give you the same questions as is on the final exam. But I will give you very similar kinds of questions and also review some things that I think are important to know for next year. And anytime you do a question, you have to say to yourself, man, I better be ready for this kind of question. I better be ready for that kind of question. And it was pretty obvious to me that you were not ready enough. Can we scooch this row back, please? And it being, you being not ready enough, to me, means you have to step, I got much fingers. You really have to step your game up. You've got to be a lot more focused than you should be. All right, so here we have the test questions, and what I'll do is I'll go through the first four here, and I'll talk about some of the things that I saw, and so on and so forth. Now, for example, I think number one is a phenomenally easy question. It says 3 to the x times 3 to the 5 is 3 to the 12. Take a look at your paper. Did you get that question right, or did you get that question wrong? Because if you got it wrong, to me, there's something very wrong with getting it wrong. Ty, I don't have any extra. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any extras, Ty, sorry. If you got it wrong, I think there's something very wrong with getting it wrong. Look, this is an example of the product rule with exponents. So if I had x to the a times x to the b, what do I get? X to the what? No, come on. What do you do with the exponents? A plus b, you add them, good. So you have to add them here. So the x plus 5 has to be 12. So what number plus 5 is 12? 7. Done, that's it. Simple as that. Next, find the product. Well, we're going to do the same thing with the exponents here. So forget about the coefficients, the -5 and -7 for a minute. Just do the exponent part. N to the 5th times n to the 3rd is going to be n to the what? 8. And then -5 times -7 is 35. So that one rule, if you didn't really pay attention to that during review, you end up getting 2 questions wrong because of that. Now, I'll go you one better and say that we had lots of questions on the review sheets like those. So it's not like you weren't prepped for them. Next, number 3, which is not equivalent to 1/16. And I'm just going to look through the answers here. Negative exponent. So that's 1 over 4 squared. What is 4 squared? 16. So this is 1 over 16. Clearly that is equivalent. Here we go again. What do you do with the exponents here? Add them. So that's 4 to the -2. And didn't we just say 4 to the -2 was 1 over 16? Now here, what do I do if I have x to the a over x to the b? What do I do with the exponents then? Subtract them. So that's x to the a minus b So 2 minus 4 is again 4 to the negative 2, which would again give me 1 over 16. But look here, what do you have in front of this? Negative sign. It's the only choice that's negative, therefore, it must be wrong. Number 4, what's the product? I was stunned at how many people got this wrong. Now, I don't want to give the impression that 3/4 of the kids got it wrong, because it wasn't like that. I just expected 100% of the kids to get it right. And probably like 30% got this question wrong. I was flabbergasted. Earlier in the year, you guys were knocking these out like crazy. This is what I mean about how I think you should prepare better. Multiply coefficients. 5 times 7 is 35, just like multiplying the coefficients up here. Add exponents, just like adding the exponents up here. 11 and negative 3 is 8. But there's a problem. What's the problem?
Wait, I thought you were supposed to multiply it. It's 3.5 times 10.
Yeah, the problem is the 35. It says express your number, or you want your number in scientific notation. So I gotta move the decimal point 1 here to 3.5. So that's a divide by 10. So I have to times by 10 there, which means I have to go up by exponents. So it's 3.5 times 10 to the 9th. Now, we have been doing that question since September. And at one point in time, in the 3rd period class, I have a handful of kids who just don't do anything. But with the exception of those handful of kids, everybody was getting it right. Yet on the test the other day, it wasn't the case. So hopefully that reminder is putting you in a position where you will get it right the next time. Now, the test you take this Friday, coming up, is going to be a lot like this test. I haven't made it yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up on my computer. I'm going to change the 1 to a 2, and I'm going to go through, and on about half the questions, maybe a little bit more than half the questions, I am going to just change a number here or there. So like maybe on the first one, I changed 12 to 15. Maybe on the second one, I changed the -5 to a +5. I'll do that on a little more than half of them, and then I will make some that will be more so, or more challenging, that'll be a little bit different.
If you're gonna do that, is there any chance that I can get a test?
Well, that's, I don't think so. I think they're in the garbage. But the good news is, on the sheets that I made up this week, I put more sample questions on there. So you will not be sampleless. You will have lots of samples. Okay, so number 6 here, and this video will be online, so you can watch the video again and see that, okay? All right, first I gotta square this. So it's 4w squared times, if I square this, I gotta square the 5. 5 squared is 25. And then w cubed, that says cubed on your paper, right? Right? Yeah? Okay, good. W cubed squared is w to the 6th, all over 10w to the 3rd. And here we are with these laws of exponents again. This problem uses all the laws of exponents. 4 times 25 is 100. Add the exponents here, that's w to the 8th, over 10w to the 3rd. And as somebody told us, it was Eric, said before, we have to subtract exponents now. What's 100 divided by 10? 10. And w to the 8th over w to the 3rd is w to the 5th. And that's my correct answer, 10w to the 5th. This, I believe, is a hard question. I think it's a hard question because it requires all of the rules. Now, don't misinterpret that statement. Don't think, oh, he's saying that one's really hard, so I really don't have to know it. I can miss that one. Work for it. You learn how to do this question, you learn how to do 3 other kinds of questions at the same time. Okay. Solve for the variable. This one we did really well on. It's the same side situation. That's 7x minus 1 is 13. Mr. Middledorf, we got to pick the head up. Add 1 to both sides. I get 7x is 14. Dividing by 7x is 2. Okay? All right, now number 8 is a question that a number of people got wrong. And this, to me, is an example of you guys not taking as much of an advantage of this answer sheet as you should have. Because I really haven't talked too much about number 8 in class this year. When we covered the Pythagorean theorem, we talked about it. It was on that test. But other than, and we hit it a little bit in review for the state assessment test, but other than that, we really haven't talked too much about it. I don't remember going over a single time this question in front of you during the review period leading up to this test, like the last week or so. Yet, I gave you the answer sheets every day to this kind of question, and in it, it explained exactly what was going on. So, if you were getting it right, you wouldn't need help, but lots of people got it wrong on the test. So I would have hoped that you would have used those answer sheets more to your advantage. The reason I do those answer sheets is I think it can address everything, every concern of every person. And whatever it still leaves you confused about, you need to come and see me during that 10 or 15 minutes in class when you're working on the new stuff. Okay, so what makes something irrational? Look, a rational number, forget about irrational. A rational number is a fraction, like 2/3, a decimal that repeats, like 0.121212, . It's also a square root that you can figure out, because that can be converted to a regular whole number. So for instance, what's the square root of 16? 4. And 4 can be written as a fraction, it's 4/1. So therefore, this is a rational number. Now there are two very famous irrational numbers for your purposes that you need to know, and this is what I wrote in those sheets. The first most famous irrational number that you will deal with as an 8th grader is pi, and I think most kids know that. The other famous irrational number is any square root that you can't figure out into a perfect root. So if you look at these choices, this is already a fraction, so therefore it is a rational number. This we said was 4/1, so it's rational. This has the repeating 3, 3, 3, 3, that's rational. Does anybody here know what the square root of 129 is? No. In fact, if you took a calculator and you typed in square root 129 and you see like it comes out to point whatever and there's no pattern, there's no repetition, and it doesn't stop, that's the irrational one. So choice B is irrational. Now number 9 is a lot like number 8 in that I don't remember doing a single question like this year with you. But I put it on the review 3 days in a row. And in putting it on the review 3 days in a row, I explained how to do it when I put the review answers there. Nobody asked me about it, so I'm thinking, okay, they get it. Didn't work out. Any point is always x comma what? Come on, talk to me. X comma what? Y. So you take the 11, plug it in for the y, and you get 11 equals 3x plus 2. And you just solve. Now, isn't that easy? Just plug the y in for y and solve. Minus 2. 9 equals 3x. Divide by 3. X equals 3. Nice, easy question. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Let's keep going here.
That's 11.4.
Okay. Number 10. What's the slope of this line? Please don't say 3. Why can't you say the slope of that line is 3? Because it says 2y equals, right? So I have to divide by 2. And now the slope comes out to be 3/2. Okay. Next one. Which choice best describes the line of best fit? Listen very, very, very carefully. We've talked a lot about this more recently. Strong coefficients. The dots are very much in a row. All around the line. So the line of best fit goes right through them and they're very close to the line. Weak coefficients. The line goes through them, but they're not as tightly grouped. Take a look at this. Are those points tightly grouped to the line, or are they far away from the line? Tightly grouped. So that means it's strong. So I can cross out those two choices. And as far as whether it's a positive or a negative correlation, it's just like slope. If it's going up and to the right, it's positive. If it's going down and to the left. Is that a positive slope or a negative slope? So therefore, it's a strong positive correlation. Question?
That always mixed me up because it could go that way, but if it's all close to the line, it gets.
It's strong.
I didn't know that.
It's strong negative. If it's going up like this one, it's strong positive. Okay? All right, so now, what's the image after reflection in the y-axis? Here's the point, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I reflect in the y-axis, it comes over to here. That's +2, 4. Okay? How many degrees in the three angles of a triangle? 180. The three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So, find the measure of the third angle if the two are 55 and 45. Well, what do 55 and 45 add up to? 100. So then I got to do 180 minus 100, and I get 80 degrees. Okay? All right, so that covers through number 13. Now we go up to number 14. And I was a little disappointed in these problems here, so I think we have to review these a lot. I have a sheet made up for tomorrow. There's some geometry questions like this on there. I just made up a sheet for Wednesday, and I put a whole bunch of these kind of questions on. I put triangle questions on it, and I put these questions because we didn't do as well on this on the test as we should have. Two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Based on this diagram, identify the relationship for the given angle pair. 2 and 7. Are those vertical? Hey, look here. Are those vertical? No, vertical angles are like when you make an X and they look like that, so they're not vertical. Are they supplementary? Supplementary means they add up to 180. Well, they're both acute, so they can't add up to 180, so they're not supplementary. So they're either alternate interior or alternate exterior. How do you tell? Look here, don't look down. How do you tell if two angles are interior or exterior?
They're on the inside or backside.
Well, these two lines here are called parallel lines. If you're in between the parallel lines, you're interior. If you are on the outside of the parallel lines, you're exterior. So what are those two angles? Exterior, they're outside. So the correct answer is choice D. Okay. 15 absolutely stunned me. Completely blew me away that the whole class didn't get number 15 right. Look, when I make a test, I don't want it to be easy to get a 90. I want it to be challenging to get a 90. But I don't want, like, everybody to fail. That, I think, would be too mean a test, too hard a test. So I always include on a test certain things that I believe are routine. Like, we've done them so many times. It's not that they're unimportant. They're not unimportant. They are important. But they're kind of the questions where you're like, been there, done that. Piece of cake. So I look here. I am asking you to write this in scientific notation. How many times have we done a scientific notation question like this year? Do I hear 100? Do I hear 1,000? Do I hear a gajillion? Right? You gotta move the decimal until you create a number between 1 and 10. 1, 2, 3. Do you have any idea how many people said that the exponent was 6? I gotta keep going. 7, that would be 17.2. 8 is 1.72. That's what they have listed here. You have to move the decimal until you get what they got. And that was 8 places. So the answer is 8. Okay. Next up.
I got that one right.
I'm telling you, plenty of people got it wrong. That would be the issue. It's when I go over these things, it's not that everybody got it wrong usually. It's that more people got it wrong than it should have been. All right, which scatter plot represents no correlation? Look, we just said before, a really, really strong correlation is when all the dots are in a row like on a line. So this is a strong positive, right? What would this one be? Strong negative. Now, which of these two look more like they could have a line going through the middle of them? A, sure. This would be a weak negative. So this one here is no correlation at all. So C is the answer to that one. Here we come back to that question again. Look, 4 to the 7 times 4 to the negative 3. My base stays the same, just like x to the a times x to the b is x to the a plus b. Boy, if you didn't know that, you were getting clobbered on this test. We've seen it at least 4 times now. Well, my x's stay the same, so over here, my 4's stay the same. 7 plus negative 3 is 4. You want the answer, that's 4 to the 4th. I believe that's it. I don't have my glasses on, but I think it is. Okay, Number 18. This one doesn't ask you to solve anything. It just asks you, which equation here would be the best equation to use? And this one, you're dealing with angle BGH, B to G to H, that's that angle. And then C to H to G, C to H to G, that's that angle. So my question to you is, are they equal or are they supplementary? Equal, because they're both obtuse, or you could say, well, look, aren't they alternate interior? Right, they're inside, so they're interior, we just talked about that, and they're changing sides. And the other thing we could do is if we did drag and drop, this guy in red would land right here to make them vertical, so they would be equal that way too. All right, so which one shows that they're equal? Choice D. So that's the correct answer. Okay? And now, as far as the part twos go, all right, oh boy, we got clobbered on this one. We got spanked on this particular question. That is not going to happen again. You know this is going to be on the next test, because this was probably the ugliest question of them all. All right, it wants the rate of change for the three of them. Okay, so look, rate of change is change in y over change in x. And this is linear, it's going up by the same amount every time. So I'm going to do 3 minus negative 1, that's my change in y, and then over negative 5 minus negative 2. Circle agar, circle agar, 3 plus 1 is 4, negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. The first one is negative 4/3.
What's that mean?
That's the slope, the rate of change. Agar means add. Okay, next. Here we go. I'm going from this point to this point. That's down 2 over 3. So this slope is negative 2/3. Now I go to the next one here. Minus 2y. And I have 3, so sad. I did a boo-boo. I'm sorry, let me go back to that. I got tricked up because usually, you know how usually they put the y first for y equals mx plus b? They didn't this time, and I kind of got a little sloppy about that. So this is 2y, because they go die-die, equals negative 3x minus 6, and then I divide by 2. And this slope works out to be negative 3/2. Okay? So, if you take a look at this, which is the smallest rate of change? Negative 3/2, negative 2/3, or negative 4/3? Now, if you're confused about how to tell if a fraction is bigger or smaller than another, just do it on a calculator, divide and get a decimal. This would be negative 1.5, this would be negative 0.6 repeating, and this would be negative 1.3 repeating. So what's smallest? Negative 1.3 repeating, negative 0.6, or negative 1.5? Negative 1.5. So the answer is that 3 is the smallest. And do they have the same rate of changes? No, they don't have the same rate of changes. You know, a number of people on this one said negative 3 over 2. But remember, it's change in y over change in x. Yes?
You wrote that question wrong on this, and I got it right.
All right, show me in a little bit. And last but not least, which will also be on the next test, is number 20. Solve the following system of equations for A and B. Okay, so, look, the B's match. They already line up and they're already the same amount of them, so you just need to add the two equations. They go, die, what's 3a's plus 2a's? 5a. And what's 10 plus 5?
15.
You guys were fantastic at this early in the year. I have no idea what happened on the test. A equals 3. Now we got to go back and find B. I can use either original equation. I'm going to stick with the top one because everything's positive. So A is 3, so I'm going to dump it in there. Substitute it. 3 times 3 plus B is 10. 9 plus B is 10. Minus the 9, B is 1. And there's my correct answer. Okay? All right, so we just went over the entire test. You know how to do everything on that test. And now, what I want you to do is show me homework number 3 so I can check it off real quick. Check your answers to it. And
I wasn't here on Friday.
we will take a quiz in about 2 minutes. If you were not here Friday, it would be irrelevant. The homework was from Thursday.
I was here on Thursday.
I don't remember, but I need homeworks 3, so let's get them up, pass them up, guys, hurry up.
No, I was here on Thursday, so I'm good. What is the 20th?
What was that?
What is the 20th? Taking a quiz right now?
Yes, I don't remember. Let's see, 31st, 30, yes, it was the 28th.
Okay, go to it.
Okay, one quick easy quiz question. Anybody else with homeworks? Homework number 3, anybody else? Homework number 3.
I was absent on Thursday, so.
Well, you gotta get the sheet, right? You should've gotten the sheet on Friday, but get it one more shot here, let's get it done.